can be privacy first. So you can be like, hey, not only can my medical records be shared to whatever doctor I want easily, I can also share with them only the data I care to share with them.
Welcome to PTG TV. This is your host, Antonio Hicks, aka Escaping the Matrix. I don't even think I did that on the last introduction. Yeah, y'all know me. My name Matrix. But yeah, I got Robert here. I met him at Kid Labs. And here to talk about technology and about what got him into technology, what he's excited about for coming into the future. So yeah, welcome him on to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, the second time around. Yeah, we had technical error the first time around. I just didn't have record going. But yeah, so you're born and raised Georgia boy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all know me. I love home team. I shout out home team all day, every day, because I don't see enough Georgia people around here. It's just a ton of implants around here now. But now we were talking because I didn't hit record early on, but you were talking about how you got into technology.
Yeah.
So he went to grad school in Oregon. I'm like, that's kind of weird to go from Atlanta to Oregon. But and he came back because he wanted to be back here close to family.
Yep.
Now you studied physics when you was in school.
I did, yeah.
So what interested you about physics?
So I think the two things for me is, one, I just like understanding things. And that's really what physics is trying to understand like how the universe works. That job-wise, a lot of technology builds on top of physics. Mm-hmm. So I knew I would not necessarily get it to know what I wanted to do. Physics was wide enough to where I could try different things.
So you studied physics. So what made you get into doing, as opposed to, like, what made you focus on software as opposed to hardware?
So some of the labs that I worked in initially, they were a combination of both. So I would be working with both. I was working with particle physics, so it was like a particle accelerator, the hardware, but then I had to also work with the software. Oh. And I really liked the software part.
Okay. So how was it working on like the particle, the machine?
It was wild because it was like my second year in college.
Were you scared?
Yeah. Because
y'all don't know about particle accelerators. Like the biggest one we have right now is CERN, even though they're trying to build a bigger one in China. But
really, I don't know.
Yeah, bigger than CERN. Yeah, because nobody else want to risk that, especially all the stories.
It makes sense.
The stories people say.
I mean, it's like in I don't know if you've seen Oppenheimer, or
I
if
haven't
you've heard
watched
about it.
I mean, I know about it.
But yeah, there's like a famous thing when they were doing the atomic testing where they thought they might ignite the atmosphere on fire.
Yeah.
And like same thing happened with CERN when they were like, yeah, the first time we turn this on, it might open a black hole.
Well, I mean, there still is concern about that.
Oh yeah, there is.
Because they've had. So do you keep up with the conspiracy theories?
Some of them, but
like supposedly portals that's been opened up over top of it.
I have seen that one. Okay. I have seen that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's some weird stuff that they have shown. Now, I don't know if it's from CERN. I mean, it's been a lot of weird stuff going on around.
I mean, all the UFOs that are going on.
I was going to ask you that, right. You're talking about you into physics, so you believe in the whole UFO. Did you watch the hearing?
I did. I don't not believe them. Very open-minded about that. The thing that really changed my mind, because I used to be like, UFOs, what? The two things were like, one, a lot of the people who are reporting it are like legitimate scientists and pilots. Right. Like, someone was in the Navy pilot for 30 years. Right. Like, why would they lie about that?
And that was my thing, because I'm like, you always have regular civilians. Yeah. That we always, all the footage you typically see online is from civilians. It's not from pilots or anybody that's in the active military. And so they get pissed off because they say, I wish one day somebody would actually record a UFO with a legitimate camera as opposed to these pixelated cameras. But I was like, but you have to think about it. If you see a UFO in the sky and you're trying to zoom into it, like, I don't know if any camera, even with Samsungs, because they got caught up when they crapped 100 times zoom, which is not really 100 times zoom. They've been actually using stock images to overlay the camera. So anytime you zoom into the sky, everything is going to be pixelated.
Yeah, but some of the military footage is what's like some of the like craziest, because they have some of the best cameras, and it can clearly see just like weird behavior.
So do you think it's human made? Being a physicist?
I think most of them are. I don't discount the possibility. I usually
have anti-gravity machines.
Anti-gravity or like some technology that like others just don't know about. 100%. I mean, it's like I always assume the military technology is at least 20 years ahead of what they show the public. So like you see where like ChatGPT is.
And we have lasers now too. Yeah. They're shooting down missiles and planes. So you ought to know that I think it was released 6 years ago. They finally actually rolled out a $20 billion naval ship from out of Virginia.
Oh, is that with the like rail guns on it?
Yeah, and it has some lasers equipped with it too, so lasers can shoot down missiles and actual planes. So they do trial runs, testing it out. So yeah, we actually have legitimate lasers now.
Yeah,
which means if they shown out to the public,
yeah, like what do they have? Yeah. So yeah, I think most of them are man-made, but I don't discount it.
That would just be weird to me. It's like, why would you keep that into yourself? Because especially when you're talking about, when you think about, and we're going to get back on technology, but I mean, this is still technology though. The G-force associated with some of those, the ships that's been flying around. Because I mean, a standard human can't handle any more than like, I think it's 2, like G-forces. Like once you get to 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think the
like
top pilots are like
mush.
The top pilots can do like 8.
8?
Yeah. They have to train up for it, but they can get up there. But double digits now. No. Like the human body can't train for that.
No. Which means you have to have something that can sustain you.
Or it could be autonomous, like pilotless.
Well, you're right, and that's what was his name? Grutch, however you say his name. That's what he was saying. Like it was a bubble, but it had like a cube in the middle of like the cubes. Well, no, the orbs. He said that's what the orbs were like. But I'm like, okay, well, how would you control that? Because I mean, you would like to think that, because now you would have to have a different connection process, because controlling something like that and how fast it's flying, you would have to have a line of sight. If you're doing
if you use satellites, you might have to have a line of sight.
But if you're flying over the ocean, it's cloud cover.
Yeah, that's true.
So now you're talking about a signal would have to be created that doesn't have a range on it.
Yeah, if they needed a signal, but I could see situations where if they're doing like simple flight patterns, having it completely autonomous, like
just pre-programmed.
Yeah, like pre-programmed with like maybe some fallbacks of if something goes wrong, like
or if it identifies other ships or planes.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it could also.
It's a lot of.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, to think of. I believe in alien life. I don't think we're the only ones here. I'm like, the human body. I was telling somebody this the other day that like the human body is just so complex. I don't think we're just a fluke of nature.
Yeah, I think I also think there's alien life. I don't know how complex, but just from the science side, like we found amino acids on asteroids.
Right.
That's how they think it got here, was asteroids. We're starting to find, even within our own solar system, many more places with water that we think might have life within our solar system. And so like,
what about Mars?
I don't know. I've read that they think that people think that life used to be there, but not anymore.
I think it's underground. So I made this actual TikTok or reel talking about the rover. And when they clean the rover, it's always like pristine, like it's clean to a T. And I'm like, there's people up there. I'm like, either there's life on Mars that we're talking to, or we sent actual astronauts up there.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you get a robot that's the size of a Range Rover or something to clean itself to that degree to where everything is clean? So one guy wanted to argue me in the comments, and he was like, well, there's no humidity or anything on Mars, so they won't stick to it. So when dust gets on it, when it blows itself off, it just blows everything off clean. I was like, that's not how. No. I was like, I don't see that at all.
Yeah, I haven't seen how dirty it is in the pictures. I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I will look it up.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Now, what about the idea of, and again, we get back on technology, but since he's a physicist, he's like going to be the next Neil deGrasse. Even though Neil deGrasse don't necessarily believe in aliens, though.
I think he doesn't disbelieve in them.
Yeah, but he's like everybody else. He wants to see it firsthand.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, well, I mean, with anything, I'm like, air is real because you breathe it in. So I'm like, why would it not be real? Yeah. What about the moon? You think the moon is like a man-made object, or it was put there? Not man-made, but I mean, it was an object that was created and put there.
Earth's moon?
Yeah, Earth's moon. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think we have pretty good theological.
So he had been keeping up with conspiracy theories.
Yeah. No, I keep up with them. Like, cause
so even though they say that it's too big to be like, it's for it to be a satellite moon for us is bigger than some of the other ones that's in the solar system.
Yeah, because I think the way ours formed was different than the others. Because ours formed where like the Earth and the moon used to be one thing, and then they broke apart. Others, they formed, I think, a little bit more just like dust, like things collecting together in orbit. Yeah, I don't go deep into conspiracy theories, but I do follow some of them. I do have some conspiracy side of me, but there's also like, even if some of them are wrong, just asking the question can bring out some truth that can like teach something.
I mean, because we had a whole hearing talking about the alien, and I'm glad we finally did. But then you had three, like he was saying, you had three retired. Well, no, one of them active because Grush is still active. 2 retirees from the actual Navy that was pilots, and one of the drone footage. If y'all haven't seen the hearing, one of the drone footages you did see come from the Navy, the pilot was there. He was actual commander, so him and his squad, they actually were the ones that videotaped everything. So that's what I'm like. I think it's aliens. Or multi-dimensional, because I mean, even to the degree, I think it's multi-dimensional. Do you believe in multiple dimensions?
I do, but I don't know if. Well, it depends on how you say multi-dimension, because I think about it from like a physics perspective, but also like a.
So have you heard I showed it to my kids about them in it's a school in Tennessee, and they're learning they figured out how to open a portal up. So you seen Stranger Things? So you know about the upside down? Yeah, they've figured out a way of creating that by sending particles through it, and they figure out it's coming through a different dimension, and it comes out the other side. But they're testing opening a portal up in Tennessee.
Oh man!
Like they've actually, they haven't perfected it yet, but they've found their studies to be the theory to be true.
What do you know? What school it was?
Yeah, I've seen it too, but yeah, it's like
I'll be curious to check that
Tennessee,
out.
but it is a school up in Tennessee mountains.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, because they were talking about it 10 years ago. They rolled it out, and I was like, there ain't no way hell. It was because it was around the time before the second season of Stranger Things, and they was testing out the theory of like multi-dimensions and opening up portals to where I don't know. I mean, that's my biggest fear is like you open something up. Cause like I don't know if have you seen Mist?
Yeah, it's a great book, great movie.
Yes. They opened it up and they couldn't figure out how to close it.
Yeah.
And that was my fear, which is why I was like, that's probably why they're testing in the mountains of Tennessee. So if something happens, I mean, nothing up there but, country people.
I think if we're able to do open any of those type of portals, it would be more destructive. I would be more worried about destruction than anything moving through in or out.
Why destruction?
Because, like, in order to have, also like the idea in physics I'm thinking about is called like a wormhole. And it's not multi-dimensional travel, but it's moving from one spot to another. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the ideas around multi-dimensional travel are very similar, but like the physics of a wormhole, the gravity is like insane. Yeah. Like if a person or any organic thing got close to it, like
shred it up,
just be non-existent.
Yeah.
So I would be more worried about that part.
Well, I guess it's about But no, I mean, to me, if it's a portal, it's almost like yes.
Because I don't know if it will be possible to create a portal. Because like the whole idea of a portal is you're trying to connect points in space-time that aren't next to each other.
Right, you tear it open.
And the only way to do that in physics is a lot of gravity.
Yeah.
And so like,
y'all
travel through it.
The only constant thing in space. See, I know a little bit. The only constant thing in space that operates between space and time is gravity.
Yeah.
That is the only thing they found that operates between is gravity itself. Because they have found wormholes around the planet. They were like, I guess it was a form of like heat detection, but we don't know how to get into them.
What do you mean?
So there was a study that came out. They were trying to figure out, okay, do wormholes actually exist? And they found the theory to be true that they do exist. And they've actually, they was using some kind of camera lens to detect them. And they found a couple around like our planet. But it's like they don't know how, I mean, outside of seeing it, you don't know how to access it or even utilize it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I didn't.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
I heard about a lot of stuff. Because I'm like, that would be cool if you could get into it and, you know, go between.
I would not. I mean, yeah, cool concept. I would not do that.
I mean, you got to test it out first.
No.
Why? I mean, you can test it out.
Someone else can test it out.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be a beta tester. I mean, I would never be a beta. The only beta testing I would do would be to go to Mars. But
no, not even that. That is definitely a one-way trip.
It is a one-way trip.
Like, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's a one. I mean, but why would you say it's a one-way trip though?
I feel like the first group of people we send to Mars are not going to come back.
But why? All you need is a propulsion system to get you back up into space.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the first mission may be a colony mission.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for that because I'm for terraforming. I'm all for terraforming. I mean, because there's really the only planet that we can get to that has a decent enough atmosphere that we could terraform. Because, I mean, what was it? Is it Saturn? Saturn's moon that we always talking about?
That's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. Is like we're finding more moons. Like it's not just one anymore. Because I know there's Europa is one, but there's
which is the most popular one because it has ice on it. And they're thinking, yeah, because from some of the eruptions they've been seeing from that, they can tell that it's potential life on it now because they've detected like nitrogen. And
there's a bunch of water.
Yeah.
And they found another moon. I don't know if it was around Saturn or Jupiter, where it's the same thing. It's like super thick ice, and they found a bunch of water, and they found volcanic activity. So yeah, it could be there too.
Yeah, I would do Mars. I mean, because it's sustainable. Because I mean, we don't know because in theory they had life there before, and then we've seen that there water exists there.
Existed. I don't know if it does anymore.
No,
if there's much.
It still does.
Still has them.
It has ice caps.
Yeah, that's true. On the poles. Yeah.
So I'm like, it has ice caps. That's on the surface. So I'm like, you don't know what's below ground.
That's true.
That's what I'm like. I think it's still life forms there because it just don't exist on the surface.
It could be.
Because I'm like, it's the same thing. Like, I didn't know this. We found water particles in the soil on the moon.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that because people were saying, "Oh, it's water on the moon." I was like, "Cap." I was like, I don't believe it until I looked at it. I was like, oh, it really is water on the moon. So I was like, okay.
Yeah. I don't remember if the water there was from like before when the moon was with the Earth and it broke off, or like asteroids. Just.
I think it's a mixture of both. Because,
yeah.
I mean, because they've already shown that the moon has like a small atmosphere. Like a lot of people was like, "Oh, the moon has an atmosphere." Yeah, it actually does.
Very small. Very small.
But it's small.
Yeah.
So what else you get into, man? You talking about you a super nerd?
Yeah. So history, like technology and science in general. So like physics, biology, chemistry, astronomy. Super history nerd of like just love human history of all periods.
So you think alien life has helped us out with some of the advancement that we have?
I don't know.
I mean, if they did, they stopped.
I really like to think of things with, if you've ever heard of something called Occam's razor. So it's like a idea where basically whenever you see something you can't explain, like it's usually probably the simplest explanation. I think it could have been like aliens could have helped out, but I also think that like human knowledge is lost all the time.
Yes.
Like, and especially before there was digital things, like people pillage the library, like all that's lost.
Yeah, which I don't get that.
So I think a lot of stuff, how people built stuff in the past, like one, we might think they're dumber than they actually, like we might think they're dumber than they were. Like I think they were
way smarter than
I think
us.
they were like at least as smart as us. Like
I think more advanced. I don't think they have the advancement that we have right now as far as us being able to, make, well, I think they did make glass, but being able to bend glass and use it to send signals and stuff through. But as far as advanced, I mean, because you got to think about it, they got stuff that we can't even do right now.
Yeah. And then we're rediscovering stuff. Like people are just figuring out how to make the Greek fire.
Right.
There was like construction techniques that we figured out Roman concrete like.
Yeah.
That was like 1,000 years ago.
They got that from Egypt though. Like a lot of that stuff came from African countries. But technically, well, because even some of the Egyptians was Roman still though. But yeah, no, a lot was from Egyptian. I mean, because they learned about that from like what was it? Irrigation. They learned it from Egyptians.
Yeah, I mean, because the world started like a lot of the first civilization started like Middle East, Northern Africa.
Yeah, and then one continent. Yeah. I mean, because even sewage systems and stuff.
Yeah. So wild thing is like some of the aqueducts that they built are still being used from like 1,000 years ago.
And that's why I said I think they're more advanced than kind of to where we are today because they have pyramids in other countries. But there was always theory that nobody ever traveled there. I was like, well, that's crazy. I'm like, well, how did they get the floor plans for the same buildings? And how did they send over by a pigeon? Or because I'm like, how would
see? That's one of those things where it's like, I think some of the coincidences that happen came up because of just like physics, where a lot of the pyramids were built and to be like something with astronomy, so like aligning with certain stars, something with like dates or time. Whenever they're trying to build that, I think that like just the physical principles of reality have people come to the similar designs where it's like this is just the best way to do it, and people yeah, I mean, it's like how I think different civilizations independently discovered farming.
Okay.
Where it's like they didn't talk to each other that we know of. Even though that kind of stuff changes like every year where they're like actually we saw these Polynesians like canoe over to South America like
because I mean you gotta think Australia is where but you had Aborigines over there first, which Aborigines are technically African, so it's like
that one was there was a like Ice Age. They walked over from cause I think during the Ice Age 10,000 years ago Australia was connected to like Indonesia.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna look it up.
I think that was one way, but also all the Polynesian people and Southeast Asian, they were very naval, and like some of them literally just started canoeing out in the ocean, and that's how they think some people originally got into South America outside of the land bridge.
Yeah, no, I do know that.
Yeah, but like they probably some people wrote down.
A lot of people didn't want to believe that. It was like no, it was everybody came over from the Bering Strait. And because I was like, you had too many concepts that came from Africa over in South America. So I was like, that couldn't have came from. I'm like, because that travel would have been too far for them to come up from Africa and come through like I do Europe now into China and come across the Bering Strait. I'm like, no.
Oh no, that did happen because
what's that?
They have the way they study it is they can look at they can literally look at it at the genetic level, and they can see the like original. Or a lot of the original Homo sapiens, and as humans migrated, like the genetic structure changed, and so that's how like Caucasian, like if you go up in Europe versus Asia, where they have like slightly different genetics, and they're able to measure like, oh, we saw in Africa like 200,000 years ago, this is where all humans have the match to, then they can show like as time goes on how the different genetic groups spread across the world. It took like 50,000 years for them to get from Africa to America. But I don't think that was the only way.
No, I don't think so either. No.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I think it was selling. I mean, I'm sure it was selling long before then. I'm like, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Everybody was born,
yeah.
I mean, we still do it to this. I mean, never mind. I ain't gonna get political on that. We still do it to this day. So, yeah.
I mean, we are trying to go to Mars too. So,
I think, and it's the idea of why they're trying to go to Mars. Like they're destroying this planet, but you want to go colonize another planet, even though we've already littered there.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. I think Antarctica might be the next century is going to be a big.
Well, you saw they said the uptick has increased for people traveling there now.
Yep.
But I'm like, you still got places that's blocked, which is weird to me because I'm like, why do you still have places that's blocked off on this continent?
What do you mean?
Like certain places they're not allowing people to go to in Antarctica.
Yeah, a lot of it's like they have like research bases, government bases.
But nobody owns it.
Government's definitely on it. Ain't no way. Like, yeah, like nobody's over in those buildings over there. You're like, oh, can we go over there? Then like, no, don't worry about it.
Buildings, I'm talking about like the areas. Like they got.
Oh,
areas.
They got claims on it.
Yeah, and I'm like, but nobody necessarily owns the whole place. So it's like, why are you blocking people off from? Because to me, I'm one of those conspiracy theories too. I still think that there's green space and like heated spots over there. Just like now they released another study showing that. Like right above our crust, below our crust, there's an ocean that's bigger than the ocean that we have on the surface level.
What's it made of?
I don't know what kind of water it is, but yeah, it's water.
Oh, it's like water in the cracks?
Yeah. Like there's more water there than we have in our own ocean.
Yeah, the Earth's, like the surface of the Earth is super thin. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen the cross section, like what the Earth looks like, and you see like the crust is like super tiny.
So now to get back on technology, we didn't talk about other stuff. So you got into software as opposed to hardware.
Yep.
So what have you been doing since you've gotten into software applications? We're just doing software. I can't even say application, but doing software.
Yeah. So I started off with it was still doing a mix. So it was like RF communications. So before 5G came out, I was working with 5G technology.
Okay.
I was doing hardware that would test like the chips that go in your phone, the 5G chips, and then also writing software to like do those tests.
Okay.
And after a couple years of that, I'm like, I just want to do software.
So you working for a telecom company doing that?
It's a company called National Instruments.
It's called who?
National Instruments.
I've never heard of that.
You ever heard of a programming language called LabVIEW? Mm-hmm. They made that.
Okay.
They have like a whole suite they have like thousands of test and measurement products. Only large multinational corporation I've ever worked for.
Okay.
Hopefully the last one I ever do.
Yeah, corporate America. Even though I'm trying to go to another corporate job, not too until my other stuff kick off, corporate America. No, it's the biz.
It was a good first job because it taught me professionalism. Like how to, especially like pre-COVID, how to work with a global organization because I had to deal with different manufacturing sites around the world. So that was good skills. Also the only engineering job I've had so far outside of my business where I had to interact directly with customers.
Okay.
But
it teaches it. Well, I will say, as much as I hate it, you do learn a lot.
Yeah.
Because me and this lady, I call her young lady, even though she's older than me. We were talking this past weekend at this summit because this newer generation. I mean, not even newer generation. Some of the older generation don't have that corporate background. But with a corporate background, you have some form of structure. So you learn about managing your day. You learn about getting things done, working alongside a team, and how to work alongside a team, how to communicate.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me. It was one thing I noticed from my corporate job versus non-corporate is in the corporate job, it was more common for people to take notes in meetings and send out like agendas and have like post meeting, like here are the meeting notes, like all that stuff was squared away.
Yeah.
And then once I left, it's not a common thing.
No.
Glad for the experience, but
yeah, it's because the conference we were at, we were talking about that because the conference was supposed to start at a certain time, but didn't start at a certain time, and then the breakaway sessions didn't start when they were supposed to start. People ran over on speaking, even though they was hitting the wrap it up button, and it's like things were out of control. But the people there were non-corporate people. Like even the guy that set it up, David Shands, I mean, he'll already do, but he doesn't come from a corporate background. His first job and his only job was working at the Cheesecake Factory as a server. So yeah, I mean, I even tell my own kids that I'm like, it's good to start your own business, but I still encourage you to get into for the first couple of years, work for a corporate place so you can get that foundation up under you before you go off. Because in the free world, people piss you off because stuff don't get done on time like it's supposed to.
Yeah,
it's a lack of communication.
Yeah, it's definitely. I would encourage because I've started 3 businesses so far. 2 of them have failed spectacularly. Third one hopefully doesn't. But I definitely think working at different type of companies, like working at a large corporate company, but also working at a startup, just to see like what things you can learn of how to do things right, how to do things not right, because it can just shave a lot of time off of your learning if you see other people.
Yeah, because you get some base skills that can help you out, even in running your own business. Like I said, time management, project management, and learning the different forms of project management, especially when you're talking about it's software development. Because do you work with what method do you use, like the waterfall method or?
I mostly have used Agile type.
Okay.
I've done waterfall before, but it's mostly Agile type.
And so you don't get that until you work.
Yeah, you don't see waterfall anymore, not corporate.
No, yeah, everything has gone towards Agile. Yeah, I'm an old.
Even though like waterfall has its place, like I could go. I have opinions on a lot of things.
Yeah. And I studied I was going for my PMP, and I decided I was like, I am not trying to be a project manager. I studied the whole PMBOK, the guy, and I'm just like, first of all, they're on calls all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I don't like sitting on calls all the time. I hate meetings. I'd rather have emails sent out, and if I want to talk with somebody, I'd rather work in a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Than having unnecessary phone calls just to get an update. I'm like, you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
So what businesses have you started?
So they've all been software related.
Uh-huh.
The first one was just like a dev shop, building apps for people. And it was my first time starting a business, so like I made all the mistakes.
Yeah, I know you hear the ambulance coming by.
Yeah, it's loud.
Yeah, whoever that is, I pray for him.
Yeah, so I did all the wrong business things. Like the first customer I worked with, I did it for free. Like,
yes.
Just lots of learning. And the second business was still software, but it was more focused on launching e-commerce software product, specifically like last mile delivery. I was looking at both like
Yeah.
Cut out. Oh, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Just talk closer. Okay. How's that? Yeah, it was B2C. I was just trying to find because that was before like DoorDash and Uber Eats were ubiquitous.
Yeah.
So I was connecting with businesses to try and help them set up delivery. Just food at that point, but then I would be going to like bookstores or makeup stores or goods stores. Like, hey, you could have under an hour delivery to any of your customers online. Out there, it's the first time trying to launch products. Tried to launch a few different products and scalable. I want to be able to do it full time.
Now, which one are you working now? The one you're working on now, how is that going?
Oh, it's going well. So that one's in Web3. Combination of education and security. Right now, it's mostly still like a services business, but it's a lot more demand.
I know you just had a Web3, so he does just had a Web3 class. And are you planning on teaching?
We're actually planning on teaching a revamped, slightly longer version of that class in October.
Are you charging for it?
No, not this one.
Still free?
Mm-hmm.
You want to shout that out?
Yeah. I can shout it out. If you're interested in joining, you join Solidity ATL. You can go on our website. If you Google Solidity ATL, it should pop up.
Now, I was talking to this guy yesterday, Dr. Malcolm Adams. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I didn't know who he was. He just somebody connected me with him, but supposedly not supposedly. I mean, he's cool dude. I had a long conversation with this man yesterday, but he's a big tech nerd around Atlanta, and I still didn't know who he was because he was just at Render.
Okay.
That was here, and he was like connecting people there, and he said people was taking pictures. But we were talking about Web3, and he was like, Web3 is not new. He was like, we had the technology. I didn't think about it back in the day with like Netscape and Internet Explorer, where you could do a ton of things on your own, like personal site. But it was almost like it was being hosted on your computer. And I was like, I forgot all about that because it was during the days of like MySpace and some of the other stuff. I completely forgot about it. But I was telling him, though, the way it is now versus how it was then, technology was crap then. Especially when you're talking about the internet. The network connections was terrible back then versus now.
Yeah, and I think there are some similarities between Web3 and Web 1. Because like you mentioned, when the internet initially started, nodes on the internet, like it wasn't like Microsoft server. Like the initial internet was just a bunch of people's computers connected together.
Jaden, share the camera. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Cool. Yeah. Out.
Nah.
Yeah, but the first internet was like in the 80s, early 90s was just people own their own computers and they could serve the websites.
Right.
I think the biggest difference with Web3 now is the advancements in cryptography. So being able to do all those things permissionlessly.
Now though, why do you think why do you think that's the next phase of it? Why move to that, in your opinion?
I think related to that, it depends on what problem you're trying to solve. I like to think about it in like, you could talk about finance. The big finance things I like to think about, it doesn't necessarily apply to a lot of people in the US. But like most countries in the world don't have a central bank that operates.
Okay.
I think there's a huge opportunity for billions of people to have a bank for the first time.
But you're talking about banking, but banking is more of like crypto. Yeah.
And so that's one like slice of Web3. And I think I kind of associate it with Web3 because we're in a digital age, and I think money on the internet, like it's been growing over time.
So you think everybody's ready for crypto?
No, I actually think for crypto to succeed, most of the apps for like the average person, I'm really interested in the problems where they won't know they're using crypto or there's cryptos going on, but it just solves the problem better than my service.
Yeah, because I mean, I can see the premise behind it, but yeah, I'm like, when I'm thinking about it, the average person, it goes over the top of their head. They don't necessarily know what it is.
And like, even if you think of like the apps on your phone, like you were showing me an app earlier.
Yeah.
Do you know what language it was written in? Like their backend servers?
No.
Do you care?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So some of the other Web3 related problems that I think can really help is whenever you need to share data between a lot of different places, so like medical data or like supply chain, if you have like some good comes in on a shipping container hopping between supply depots, a lot of those things now, like I'm sure you've had to deal with this of like moving doctors, like how do you get records over? A lot of ways Web3 can be leveraged so that the data is globally available. It can be privacy first, so you can be like, hey, not only can my medical records be shared to whatever doctor I want easily, I can also share with them only the data I care to share with them, because it can be set up that way. It doesn't have to be, but
I mean, I like it. We were because a lot of people I follow on Threads now. Shout out to Threads. Threads is the X killer. Now you can't Twitter anymore. It's X.
X.
It's the X killer. But I was talking about it with some of these people online, and they would say they have a hard way of explaining Web3 to people, and I was like, well, I said it's not necessarily hard. I said, it's how you look at it. Because I was like, I look at it like this. I'm like, it's the typical fast food restaurant. Like all of the rinse repeat when they come to fast food restaurants. You know what, you don't get either burger, fries, or a shake, or a drink. But I'm like, so you think of Web3 as almost like your own barbecue, like your barbecue at your house. So you come to my house, everything's operated from my house. I got control over everything I put on the grill. I can design it the way I want to design it, and I know the product and how it's going to end.
I think the analogy works somewhat, but I think for the average consumer, instead of fast food, I'm trying to think of how to use that analogy, because the consumers themselves are it's not gonna be their house because they're still not building it, but there's like,
I mean, but from the connection standpoint.
Yeah, from the connection standpoint, like they own like their wallet, they own what data they put on.
And that's what I was, because I'm like, Web2 is like the typical fast food. I mean, it's not yours.
Yeah.
You got to go there, and everybody's they're operating the same way.
Yeah.
Whereas Web3 is not.
Yeah, and I think one other distinction is Web3 is natively global.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you can't put a VPN on Ethereum.
No.
I mean, you can.
You try.
I don't
know. It's not going to work.
Yeah, like it's a lot harder. Like it is possible to censor, but it's a lot harder.
But I mean, it's technically already censored though anyway, because I'm like, it's encrypted traffic.
What do you mean?
The Ethereum? So is it not encrypted?
What part?
Like the connections itself.
So the connections,
like you going from node to node, or you operating on, is it not secured?
It is.
Web3 is more secure.
It is secured, but it's public. So like when you're sending transactions, like all the data is visible. It would be up to you to encrypt it. And there are some applications where it's like I was talking about earlier, that data availability is one where they store the data encrypted, store like a reference to like basically like you can go to, it's not Google Drive, but there's other file storages where they store data encrypted, they get an ID, and they store that on a blockchain where it's like, hey, if you want to actually get this data, you can look it up there. And so that's one way to have encrypted data, but the security from blockchains comes from their consensus. And as their consensus gets more mature over time, it gets harder and harder to centralize.
So now, are you doing this primarily with Solidity? Is that like that? Is that your business or?
Yeah, so primarily Solidity, but in Web3 apps, Solidity is only one piece normally. So I look at the whole stack as well.
As far as like your teaching.
No, teaching is Solidity, but also full stack.
I don't think he don't get what I'm talking about. Like Solidity ATL.
Oh yeah.
So that's yours.
Yeah, Zach and I started that.
Okay.
About a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So y'all working on that together. So yeah, now Zach did tell me his vision about that being like the class setting and teaching security but security from Web3 security and whatnot. Okay.
And we eventually, within Solidity ATL, we want to open that up to not just security, but also development. We're thinking about doing that sometime early next year, because like one of the main reasons we're teaching is we both think there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of talent here. And one of the challenges of getting new developers is just education. Because like it's hard to learn, especially on your own.
Right.
And so we want to figure out how we can provide that education, especially to people who are motivated, so that they can, change careers, get better in their current career.
The classes were good. I couldn't finish it out. Life was happening for me. But the classes were good. Yeah, and if you stay on top of it, because I still didn't find it hard. Because I caught up to some of it. It's not hard to catch up on because of the delivery style. But yeah, you gotta be on because there is a ton of opportunity there, and especially here in Atlanta, there's a ton of opportunity now. Especially a lot of companies are going towards it. So
yeah, and kind of want to be holistic, like security and dev, because even though my business focuses on security, there's a lot more opportunity for developers. So I want to make sure.
Do you have to have a developer or engineering background to do it?
No, it's I think that there's a few things, but mainly it's the motivation, because the learning it will be a struggle. Like, it's hard for everyone. Motivation to keep pushing through, and it really helps to have someone who's done it before helping you along the way, or even you can find them on Twitter or somewhere, because it's hard to do it alone.
Or Bard.
But, yeah.
Or ChatGPT.
Yeah. Oh, ChatGPT is great.
They help me out a lot.
I mean, they help me out a lot every day.
Yeah. Say what you want to say about AI, but I love it. It's faster than Googling.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing for you, or you have other stuff that you're working on too?
So I'm working on that. We're also working on, with Solidity ATL, having like a local Atlanta Web3 developer summit. And we're going to be partnering with some different communities in Atlanta. So there's Web3 Builders Alliance, and they also are Web3 devs. They do education. They're a bit bigger. Like, they have cohorts of students, like a boot camp. They have cohorts of like 20 to 30 students building projects. They're on like Rust-based stuff, so if like Solana or some of the other chains. So we're gonna have like try and collaborate some of the local community out and start building some stuff.
I got a question. With all the knowledge you all have and the people that you're connecting with, why don't you all have your own version of, like, a minority version of Google?
I think for me, that what I initially wanted to kind of go that route. But my personality, my business, I wanted more freedom. And all of the scenarios for myself that I saw there would involve raising money. And I don't.
So what if if everybody partnered up and you all collectively built it together to where you could still do what you're doing right now, but somebody else can handle like the fundraising and stuff?
Yeah. I think that's what we're trying to get to with Kit, at least, where we're not just doing like Web3. We have multiple stripes in the organization, all doing education, all doing. Eventually, want to have like a product incubator where we try and drive periods where people try and build and launch new products. Because like that's the only way you find one that gets traction, is you have to build it and try and sell it.
Right.
So trying to build that organizational muscle that periodically.
So how has it been going so far? Because when I got with you all, has it been a year? It's been about it has been a year. Jesus Christ, it's been a year. Yeah, that was part of the concept, like I said, of Kit Labs. It's like people to come, like a tech cohort, people come in and you all work on ideas together. Have you been seeing that kind of fall off a little bit?
In some ways, but in others, I've seen it grow. I'm kind of biased. I'm only looking at Solidity ATL mostly. Yeah. Zach's looking at more of the organization. Like, he's the one who grants and does that type of thing. But I've seen like some of the students who went through the course were able to like get jobs in Web3. And
the one you just completed? Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like that's the coolest part, is whenever someone like takes the course and they're like, hey, like I went through this course, did my first audit contest, or like I got a job, or like it helped me with this. Like I love that. And so we've been having groups form where they keep working with each other after the course. Last year after the Chainlink hackathon, we tried to launch a product that failed, but that was a good experience because we went through the whole like, oh, we think we have this idea, let's try and go validate it. How do we validate this without wasting a bunch of time?
Right.
And then we validated it. We're like, oh well, we tried.
But yeah, at least you tried though.
Yeah. And we're gonna try and do something again this fall. Hoping that this summit helps, like stir that.
That's what I say I find interesting, because it's like it's so many of us here.
Yeah.
That has the experience. I mean, because a lot of people work in these. I was looking at organizations yesterday because I was coming from the podcast summit. It was trying to reach out to these different entities to figure out how I can get sponsorship. And as I'm looking through them on LinkedIn, it was like I was seeing a bunch of people look just like us sitting in like high level positions. I didn't even know that, like over marketing and over like technical departments. And I'm like, man, all this knowledge is out here. Like, why are we not? That's why I asked him his opinion, like collectively coming together to build, as opposed to working with others. We work it together to build our own.
Yeah. I think that's the whole goal of KIT, is like outside of Zach and myself, there's other people who are like, there's a lot of cross-pollination here. I haven't been the best about being tuned in there, but
I mean, you got your own stuff you got to work on.
Yeah. But I try and help, like whenever someone reaches out and they're like, hey, do you know anyone who's looking to hire, or ask me like, do you want a job or know someone? Like, I'm always like connecting people. Actually connecting someone this morning, Devin.
Yeah.
Connecting her with some companies trying to.
Okay. So now, getting married next year. We missed out on the end of the recording.
Oh yeah.
You getting married? So you getting married next year? Y'all buying a house or?
Oh, we have a house.
Okay, you already got a house.
Yeah, so I mean,
yeah,
we already got a house, and we both name on the.
Okay, so you got Solidity going, and you got KIT that you're working with on the side too. Like, that's your overall projects. Like anything, like any personal hobbies that you're working on too.
I have a personal hobby project that I haven't had time to work on in a while, but I'll get back into it one day.
Okay. Appreciate you for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Definitely deep dive into some conspiracies tonight.
Oh yeah, I live by it, because like I'm not reading something. That's what I do in my downtime. I try to nerd out about, if I'm not working on y'all know my projects. I'm working on this podcast, trying to launch my business. Because I do want to have an engineering company too, and ultimately, I've been working with somebody on that, so that is coming. Hopefully, that's coming up. We'll see, because I got a couple of meetings next week. But yeah, I want to do something to work with, because I do like KIT. Because every time, they don't know this, like when I'm always out talking to people in the community, especially in technical stuff, I always shout out KIT Labs, because I like what they built here, and so I'm like, and I like the people that actually the owners. So I'm like, anything I can do to help people come this way, almost like ATC, I do just that. But yeah, I've been busy as hell trying to scale and grow my own thing. But I do in my downtime. I love some conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
They gotta make sense. If it don't make sense, I'm not gonna watch.
I like all of them, because like the ones that don't make sense are entertaining. Like, I remember seeing one dude talking about like they were talking about like the ice wall, like the flat Earth ice wall, and like dinosaurs being, I don't even know. It was entertaining.
I think dinosaurs existed at the same time man did. I don't think it was the other way around. Like, I saw one. I was watching one. I started watching it yesterday, talking about the giants. Because I still believe in giants, and because I think giants are one that helped build some of the pyramids. Because if I'm like, who else gonna be able to pick up the blocks unless you got some kind of alien tech that was doing it? But it was one, they had taken some pictures of ones that one was in Mexico, and this guy was just happened to be driving down the street, and it was KIT. First, it was two cases. This guy was driving down the street. He saw it on a mountain, and he was like, "What the hell is that on top of the mountain?" And zoomed into it. I'll send you that link too. And it was like something walking across the top of a mountain. I'm like, if it was that big to where you could see it from a distance. And another group of kids, they were out on this like random trail doing the Random Nautica app. I think it was, what is it? I forget the app that it's on. Snapchat. But they went to this area, and it was like, why would they send it? Because I don't know if you ever heard about that one, like Random Nautica. So they went to this area, and it was like, okay, why would they send us here? And they just so happened to look out in the background, and it was about a couple of mountains, and they saw this thing standing up on top of the mountains. So yeah, I've been watching about giants.
I remember they found like I haven't heard about that one, but I have heard when they found like bones that they thought might be like Homo, not necessarily Homo sapiens, but another Homo species that was bigger.
It was part of Native Americans' tales. The Native Americans said it was some redhead giants here they end up trapping them into a cave because it was coming to their villages, killing them and eating them.
It's wild.
That was a true story. That's a true story.
It's wild that like most of human history is like tradition. Like even like stuff that gets written down, like we just.
But as people come in and
so
seize it,
huh?
I see people come in and seize it.
Yeah.
Like they come in and take the knowledge and they cover it up. Because like the Vatican, like why does the Vatican have a huge library that nobody has access to?
Bro, they have some. I don't know what they got.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
they have.
That's the kind of stuff from like they got stuff from like 2,000 years ago in there. Like
they were going in seizing up all this documentation, all this literature from all these different countries and people. So I'm like, why would you do that? And then lock it up to where you can't even see it. It'd be different if they was trying to get it to restore it.
It's like how like at least England, they let everyone see the stuff they took.
Right. Or they blatantly wear it in people's faces.
Yeah. They're like, yo, isn't this a nice rock here?
Yeah. But yeah, but Rome, no, this stuff is like. That's why I'm like, I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories, especially when it comes to them, because they got stuff locked down in the vault down at the Vatican. But they do have one. So there is this hearing coming up about they're doing an interview with some of the people on UFOs or UAPs at the Vatican. I don't know if you saw that.
What? No, yes. I didn't. At the Vatican.
Yeah. So it's coming up. I think it's next week. They're actually doing News Nation. So News Nation has been on the forefront of all the interviews. Now I thought News Nation was one of these little, these like conspiracy theory places, but no.
They're legit.
Yeah, it's legit because they have Ashley Banfield. Ashley Banfield came from CNN.
Okay.
And she was the one that was interviewing Grush when he first came out, and this other British guy, he came over, so he was interviewing him too. But News Nation has been the ones that's been pushing it out to the forefront. So now, I guess since they've gone through the hearing here in the U.S., people are believing it now. And now you got these congressmen, they've gotten involved in it.
And it's just crazy because all of them are like, yeah, we don't know what it is. And then the Congress people are like, yeah, we don't know what it is.
Yeah. And so now it has this uptick. Now they're going to do, the Vatican is coming out and supposedly letting somebody talk about it too. So I think disclosure may come out. Now my thing is, I don't understand this whole concept of, if we tell y'all it's real, it's gonna cause chaos in society. I was like, I don't agree with it because I told my son that I was like, I still gotta go pay bills. I'm like, I still gotta get up and go to work. I'm like, I don't care if you come in. I don't know if you ever watched the Chappelle show.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care if they come out and Bipple comes out and he's having an interview with Biden or whoever or whatever other nation. I still gotta go to work.
Yeah.
I still gotta pay my power bill. I still gotta pay mortgage and so somebody it's an interesting water cooler talk, but I'm like, nothing's gonna change in my life.
Yeah.
I just know that there's other life of which I already knew that anyway. Now I just see it firsthand. Like, okay, cool. Yeah, I still gotta.
Still gotta pay the mortgage.
I'm excited about the interview.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to deep dive into some conspiracy theories today.
But yeah, man, thank you for coming on. Now I do ask my guests when they come on to leave a positive thought to the community. So if you want to leave a word of wisdom.
I think one thing that I struggled to learn was, I guess, how to be kinder to myself, especially when starting a business. Mm-hmm. But not necessarily kinder, but less hard, because I had an expectation of, I guess, more success than I did. So I guess my wisdom would be, even if you're failing at something, you can still be going in the right direction. You just have to be aware of what you learned from the failure.
Right.
So failing in itself isn't bad. I think failing a lot is actually necessary to find stuff that works. So don't beat yourself up too hard when you're failing. Just try and learn.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like I told my boys when I had them do stuff, I'm like, only way you fail is if you don't learn something from the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's the only true way that you fail. Because everything has its place to learn from. And if you don't learn anything from it, then you did fail in it. So you can pull any information to help you out on the next go around. Or if you're playing any sport, you fall down, to get back up and keep trying at it. Or if you're trying to start a business, you're going to have multiple businesses you try to start that's going to fail. Not everything going to stick to the wall. You're going to have to try it out, or you might run it and then you're not good at finances, and you end up messing the finances, like overspending on stuff, and it's like, okay, now I got to try to find funding, and you can't do that, so you end up closing it down anyway. So everything, life is a huge learning lesson. And that's one of the things that, you know, to piggyback off what you said, like you won't ever know what you're good at until you try and do it. And if you fail at least you tried it.
And you probably won't get good at something until you fail a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you have to.
Yeah.
In engineering, you're gonna always fail because it's all about theory and trying stuff out. Same with software. When you try to write your first line of code, it's gonna have some errors in it. So I don't know anybody has done anything perfectly.
And it's same with fitness. It's everything. Like first time you try and do a pull up, like first time you try and run a mile, all of that.
So yeah, that's my thing. Is like live life to its fullest, try things out for what it can, and then live with no regrets. Never get old and regret that you've never done something. Go ahead and try and do it now while you can, while you still breathing, because tomorrow ain't never promised. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thank y'all for tuning in. This is Mr. Escaping the Matrix.
Tell me, where did you learn to?